Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 5th of June. Today we have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And today we are going to start from our Svetogorsk area. This is our Svetogorsk and this is Svetogorsk area. So I have already marked every single towns and every single territory and who is controlling these territories and so on. As we know, the Russians established control over town Sosnovo, Yarova. The Ukrainians still control Studenak, Bogorodichne, the area near Tatiana, town Tatiana. This is the bridgehead, the hill near the church that were burned yesterday. The Ukrainians controls Dolina, Adamovka, Sidorova, Mayaki. So this is the territory that is colored with the yellow color, is the territory under the Ukrainians' control. The black area, black clouds, this is the territory that is not under anyone controls. This is the territories where the heavy clashes are, and the Russians are trying to establish control over Svetogorsk, and also the Russians are trying to establish control over this forest. This is the forest between the Izum bridgehead and Bogorodichne and Dolina. The Russians are trying to clear this forest and attack these two towns. For one reason, to establish bridgehead in this area and to continue their Slavyansk offensive operation. So there are a few updates, very important updates. And first of them is that the Russians established control over the town Dovginka. This one. If you take a look at the Russian sources map, you're gonna see that this town is under the Russians. This one. This is the town Dolginka, and also the Russians are showing us, like with this icon, that they started their offensive operation towards Dolina. We got this information from the Ukraine military authorities report this morning. They announced about two Russians offensive operation. One in direction from Dovginka towards Dolina in this area, and another one in the area of Popasna. So this is two offensive operations. We discussed many times that the Russians need this town Dovginka for one reason, to establish control over the town Dolina. A few videos ago I told you that the vital area at Dovginka in Svetogorsk bridgehead in this area is the same town as Toshkovka, for example, in Gorsko-Zolotoye area. This is a vital town and there are very heavy clashes. According to information I have, town Dovginka turned their owners during the last months a few times. The Russians established control over Dovginka a few times. The Ukrainians were pushed them back, so this is like town was in the green zone for a very long time. But today we got this confirmation from the Ukrainian military authority that this town is under the Russians. So, and this is very important. And I'll explain to you what is the importance of this town. The situation in Svetogorsk is almost the same situation as in Lysychansk agglomeration. You can't establish control over this hill. You can't establish control bridgehead on the top of Slavyansk in this area from Svetogorsk, let's say like from Severodonetsk. The only one way you can do this is to attack this area from the flank, and to establish control over Svetogorsk just using the flank attack from town Dovginka. So this is the only one way how the Russians can do this. First they need to attack Dolina, and after that they need to attack Bogorodichne. Of course they should, and they are using the way from this forest the same way. So this is the only one way how they can do this. Of course there are going to be some support attack towards Svetogorsk, from Sosnovo towards Studenak. It's obviously. But the thing is that this is very difficult position for the Russians. And the main idea, the main problem that the Russians can't attack any town in this area without support of heavy armored groups, without support of heavy armor campaigns, heavy tanks campaigns, and so on. So this is the forest, and the Russians are sending their commanders to clear this forest, to get as close as possible towards Bogorodichne, but you won't be able to establish control over this bridgehead There are a lot of tanks, artillery, there are a lot of Ukrainian fortified positions. So just with one soldiers, one troops and artillery, it's impossible to do. Anyway, you need to bring here some tanks just for first step. You need to bring some tanks, you need to lose some tanks. But this is the only one way how you can suppress the Ukrainian positions, and after that you are able to move your troops, your soldiers, that can establish control over these towns. Without heavy armor, it's impossible to take these towns. So this is the reason why the Russians are working exactly in these forests, to clear these forests and to establish some position on the edge of this forest. And the main idea for the Russians is to establish control over this road, because this is the only one way how the Russians can move their tanks, their armored groups towards Dalina. This is the only one way. Anyway, they need to establish bridgehead here, because if they are not going to do this, their flanks in their Izum bridgehead will be weak. So that's why they need to take this area. But there are few moments about this operation. Let's take a look at this map. This is our area. This is Dolginka. This is Dolginka. This is Dalina. And this is the forest. So if we take a look, if we go back, this is Dovginka. This is Dovginka. We are watching from Dovginka towards Dalina. So this is Dovginka, this is Dalina. This is Dovginka, this is Dalina. This is the forest. This is the forest. So the Russians are here in Dolginka. And this is the road. The only one way, the only one place where the Russians can use to move their armored vehicles, armored tanks, armored campaigns towards this town. So this forest on the right side, this forest, is under total Ukrainian control. And there is no doubt about this. The Russians won't be able, and they won't use this forest for their offensive operation, at least at this side, at this part of campaign. This forest, I think that this forest is still in the gray zone. But in a day or two, maybe today already, the Russians have already established control. And this is the forest where the main clashes are. The Russians are using this forest to move their troops towards Bogorodichne. Now let's take a look at this area. So for example, if we say that the Russians are moving from this side of the forest, from Dolginka towards here, and after that towards Dalina. It's impossible for one reason. According to information I have, this line, this forest, this small position is entirely fortified with the Ukrainians. The same situation here, the same situation here, and the same situation here. More than that, you see this river, these lakes, and the Ukrainians have position here. So if the Russians are pushing their tanks from right side of this forest, for example, moving here, they will be totally defeated. So it's like useless waste of tanks. So the only one way for the Russians is to use this road. This is the why they established control of Dolginka, just for these forests to take these positions and to cut Ukrainian possibility from this side to attack this road and the Russians' tanks. So the Russians can use this road. So they can go to the north. They can go to the north, and from this area they will be able to get these fields, some to the right side, to the left, and to attack Dalina. This is the only one way, and there is no perfect solution in this case. Anyway, there would be a lot of losses because there is like a small distance between these two forests, and there would be a lot of losses. But this is the only one way how to get the heavy armor campaign in this area. If the Russians are using this road in the forest, if this forest is already under control, there would be no problems. Of course, the Ukrainians are going to bomb this road heavily, like we saw in Chernobyevka. But at least it's something than nothing. Another important update regarding Seversky Donetsk River. The water level in Seversky Donetsk River has fallen. I read this information, it was very interesting, and some Russian sources report that in some places the river has become passable for armored vehicles without the need to build pontoon bridges. So that's why the Russians now, as far as I understand, are thinking how to use this possibility to cross the river at many places at the same time. And today, the Ukrainian military authorities reported that the Russians were trying to cross the Seversky Donetsk River near town Stary Karavan. This is on the south of Liman, near the Raigorodok area. So it's the same bridgehead, but it's some kind of attack from another side. And of course, the Russians are famous for their amphibious tanks, amphibious armored vehicles. So I'm sure that in the next weeks, we're gonna see that the Russians are crossing the river without any pontoon bridges, and it can be a real surprise for the Ukrainians. So we'll see what is going to be next, but it becomes more and more interesting. Now let's talk about Lysychansk agglomeration area. Yesterday there was a lot of updates from both sides. The Ukrainians were saying one thing, the Russians were saying another thing. There was a lot of opinions what did happen there. But today we got some piece of news, more news from this area. And the thing is that this was just a regular counteroffensive operation from the Ukrainian side. And the main purpose of that attack was not to allow the Russians to encircle the forces, the Ukrainian forces, in Barivsky-Voronovo area. If we take a look at the Russian sources map, you're gonna see that there is no difference, and the Russians are not updating their map. They are still waiting for more updates and more information. An important thing that the town Metolkino is under the Russians. If we take a look at this map, you see that town Metolkino is under the Ukrainian control. And this map has been updated from the West sources map. They did this very fast. This area, they marked as the Ukrainians. The day before, even like yesterday in the morning, this area was under the Russians. If you remember, a few videos ago, maybe last week, I told you that the main idea of the Russians, as soon as they establish control over Severodonetsk, as soon as they establish the maximum control of this town, we understand that it's impossible for now to establish control over the industrial zone, would be to split this area in two pieces. For example, to do this, they need to attack Sirotino. So this is the only one way how to split this area in two pieces. And in this case, for example, Severodonetsk will be a separate part and Barivsko-Voronovo group will be the separate part. According to the Russian sources map, we know that town Metolkino is under the Russian control. So this is the situation. At least maybe was. And the Russians started their counter-offensive operations towards Sirotino. And as far as I understand, at least they achieved significant success. We see now that they couldn't establish control, but this operation was so dangerous for the Ukrainians, so that's why they sent some volunteers, foreign volunteers, maybe foreign mercenaries. There was a foreign legion here, and they started their counter-offensive operation just for one reason: to return the road between Severodonetsk and Voronovo-Barivsky group. And this is very important for one reason. For example, if we are talking about Voronovo-Barivsky group, these guys don't have any other option how to cross Seversky Donetsk River, just near town Ustinovka. Yeah, if you remember, we discussed this town many times, this town near the Toshkovka. I show you on the map this place where they can cross the river with heavy tanks, heavy armor, and the Russians are pushing here, and there are very heavy clashes in triangle between Mirna Dolina. In this triangle are very heavy clashes between Mirna Dolina, Chekhirovo, Ustinovka, and the Russians are pushing, and their main idea to cut possibility for the Ukrainians to use exactly this road for evacuation for this group. And as far as I understand, the Russians were pretty successful in this area. We don't have any information about the progress. We know that there are still some storm operation in Toshkovka, but the Ukrainians decided not to risk, and they decided to return and to enforce their position in Sirotino, because this is the vital area for this group. If Sirotino falls, we can say that it's already a cauldron. At least a cauldron for the heavy armor and weapon, because the regular Ukrainian forces, they are able to cross the river using their feet. But if this town falls, they will have to leave all their equipment there and just run away using the feet. So that was the operation. There is no update about the losses, there is no update about the control, just again the same picture, two different situations, but now at least we understand what was that. And I will repeat myself, the main idea was to return control over Sirotino and to enforce this area with the purpose of not allowing for the Russians to encircle the Vyborbarivsk-Voronovo group in Lysychansk agglomeration. There is no updates from Toshkovka-Zolotoye Girska area. We understand that there are very heavy clashes in this triangle, and of course for the Russians for the next week, the main idea and the main goal, at least for the first part of the next week, would be to establish control over Toshkovka-Chekhirovo area. This is their vital area. And the Russians, the second Russian offensive operation, the first one I told you in the beginning of this video was from in the Liman area, Svetogorsk area, and another one was in Nirkovo-Nikolaevka. So this is their second offensive operation. So the Russians are trying to move towards this area. So they're planning to establish control over these two areas. And of course, they're planning to establish control over Vrubovka. So this is their goals for the next week. And the main benefit of Nikolaevka and Vrubovka area is that the nearest town, Laskutovka, Ovcharovka, is very far from them. You see that if the Russians are able to establish control, that means that the Ukrainians won't be able to do any counteroffensive operation because they will have to move across these fields. Of course, for the Russians, the same problem, but this is the situation. If the Russians are able to establish control over Nikolaevka, Vrubovka, Toshkovka, Chekhirovo area, then, of course, they will try to establish control over these small positions, small groups. This is the Ukrainians, of course, positions, and this is the hat of the cauldron. So you see they are moving towards Nikolaevka, towards Vrubivka, towards Chekhirovo, and these three towns, they are not big, they are like the suburbs of Lysychansk, and the Russians are moving there. And this is the hat of the Zolotoye Gorska cauldron. And I think that the Russians can use this road, can use this way to establish and to encircle entire group in Gorske Zolotoye agglomeration. Now let's discuss Bakhmut area. As far as I understand, the Russians are not trying and are not moving towards Bakhmut or Solidar. As far as I understand, the only thing they are doing is they are enforcing their position along this front line. And as far as I understand, the Russians are waiting. They're waiting for the Ukrainian counter-offensive operation, because you see that on the north of this area, like the Russian call this area Flower of Popasna, the Russians are moving towards Lysychansk and they're trying to encircle this group. And the Russians know that the Ukrainians will try to deblocade this road of life, or as soon as the heaviest clashes starts here, they will try to attack the Russians in their flank. So that's why the Russians are waiting. They're waiting and they understand that this operation is going to be. There is no way other way for the Ukrainians. This operation is going to be. I'm not sure that the Russians are trying or planning to start their offensive operations towards Bakhmut, because Bakhmut is much enforced than Lysychansk. There are a lot of fresh forces. Bakhmut is connected with the big land. There is no problem with support supply from Kramatorsk. It's not the main goal for the Russians right now, but they need to enforce their positions, and they're waiting. And I'm sure there is not very big distance between Bakhmut and the Russians' territory. More than that, we see that the front line moves along the towns, so the Ukrainians can use these roads, these towns to move their forces there. So we'll see what's next, but for now, this front line is stable and everybody is waiting. Somebody is waiting and another party is preparing themselves for the counter-offensive operation towards the flank. By the way, I just mentioned that this area very looks like a man face. You see, this is the hat, like not like a man, it's a punk. We can say like this is the hat, this is the nose, this is the mouth, this is the neck, and this is the hat and ears. So very interesting situation, like the Russians are moving their face towards the Bakhmut and they're waiting when the Bakhmut is going to strike the Russian face, not like Popasna Flower, but today we can see that the Russians are waiting the attack towards their face. So we'll see what's next. Few words, of course, about Donetsk. I hope you saw yesterday the video how the Ukrainians were bombing the civilians in Donetsk. You know, there is a difference between the Russians bombing and the Ukrainians bombing. The Russians are trying to bomb when they're offensive operation, and they're trying to bomb the places where the Ukrainians have their forces. And in this case, I saw that Ukrainians were bombing just with one reason, just to bomb and to make as much casualties among civilians as possible. You see, they are bombing again the central part of Donetsk and this area, so it's not very good, I must say. And they're using cluster bombs, and it's much more worse than just using regular bombs. You understand that? So of course, for the Russian and for the Donetsk People Republic is vital mission to establish control over Avdiivka, Peski, and Marinka. And they can't do this. At least it's very difficult operations. This area was fortified for 8 years in a row, and it's very difficult. And to tell the truth, I don't know what they're going to do, because before the Donetsk People Republic forces are able to push Ukrainians from this area, I think that the Ukrainians will reduce Donetsk to ruins with their 24 hours in a row. They're bombed, civilians and so on. So the next, of course, the goals for the Russians in this area to push Ukrainians at least to do something with Avdiivka. And for this, they need to establish control over the Krasnogorovka. They are very close to this town. With establishing control over Krasnogorovka, they will be able to establish control over this landfill. This is this landfill. You see, it's like perfect position for the Ukrainians, at least to do something. So that's why the Russians are moving. This is Avdiivka from the Novosilovka II towards Krasnogorovka from Novobakhmutovka. This area is very fortified, and they need to block the Ukrainians in this area and to reduce the artillery shelling of their capital. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, and enjoy your day. Bye bye.